How did a 12-year-old kid become one of the most hated characters in Sonic history? Chris Thorndyke wasn't a villain. He didn't destroy the world. He was just a kid who wanted to be around Sonic. So why do so many Sonic fans absolutely hate him? And honestly, when you look at what Chris actually did in Sonic X, the answer gets pretty interesting. If you've ever watched Sonic X, you probably remember Chris Thorndyke. He's the rich kid who discovers Sonic after the blue blur ends up in his world. At first, Chris seems harmless. He's lonely, he's fascinated by Sonic, and he basically sees Sonic as the friend he's always wanted. But as the series goes on, a lot of fans started getting annoyed with him, and there's one major reason why. But first, if you're enjoying this Sonic content, hit that subscribe button, because if you think Chris is hated now, you haven't seen what I'm covering next. Chris constantly gets involved in Sonic's adventures. Think about it. You came to watch Sonic run at insane speeds, fight Eggman, save the world, and interact with characters like Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow. But suddenly, you're spending a huge amount of time following a human kid. And for some fans, that was already enough to make them say, "Get this kid away from Sonic." But it gets worse. Chris can be extremely emotional and impulsive. There are moments where he makes decisions without thinking about the consequences, and those decisions can put himself or other people in danger. And because Sonic and the others care about him, they sometimes have to stop what they're doing to deal with Chris. To fans watching this, it could feel like Chris wasn't just part of the story. He was slowing the story down. And then there's another problem. Chris becomes extremely attached to Sonic. At first, that's understandable. Chris is a lonely kid, and Sonic becomes one of the few people he feels genuinely connected to. But instead of simply being Sonic's friend, Chris sometimes acts like he can't let Sonic go. And this becomes especially important later in the series, because Chris eventually makes a decision that caused a lot of Sonic fans to turn against him. He doesn't want Sonic and his friends to leave, and instead of accepting that Sonic belongs in his own world, Chris tries to keep Sonic with him. That's when a lot of viewers basically went, "Okay, now I understand why people hate this kid." But here's where things get interesting. Was Chris actually a terrible character? Or was he just a lonely kid who became way too attached to the first person who made him feel important? Because if you look at Chris from that perspective, some of his behavior actually makes more sense. He's not trying to become a villain. He's scared of losing his best friend, and that's what makes Chris such an interesting character. The problem is that Sonic X sometimes puts his emotions at the center of a story where fans would rather be watching Sonic. So Chris became associated with everything some viewers didn't like about the show. And eventually, the internet did what the internet does. Chris Thorndyke became a meme. But here's the real question. Does Chris actually deserve to be one of the most hated Sonic characters ever? Because compared to actual Sonic villains, Chris didn't destroy cities. He didn't try to conquer the planet. He wasn't evil. He was just a kid who didn't want to lose his best friend. And honestly, maybe Chris wasn't the villain. Maybe the real problem was that Sonic fans simply didn't want a human kid taking up so much of Sonic's story. So what do you think? Is Chris Thorndyke actually annoying, or did Sonic fans hate him way too much? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one.